rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, I'm just going to say that this whole thing about May the 4th and, May the 4th be with you, this whole Star Wars tie-in. I mean, look, Star Wars admittedly is a bit of a phenomenon. I mean, I was, a youngin', knee-high to a grasshopper, when the first one came out in 1977. And it became a cult classic, so much so that they had to, create more, even after the original first three. And I just got to say, I'm still lost, even now. I'm still lost with the whole idea of the May the 4th be with you. I don't know. It's like we are so bored with society these days, with everything that's going on in our world. We're so bored and lost that we've got to make up crap just because. Anyway. Oh, I guess I potentially would tick off some of my, or I have potentially ticked off some of my watchers, at least one of them. Anyway, sorry, Fat Paws. Anyway, yeah, maybe someday, I mean, he and I could sit down over a glass of whiskey and he could explain it to me, but anyway, all right. Yeah. But one thing did come out of May 4th and the whole Star Wars thing, and that was a couple of trolling memes by none other than the White House. We'll get to that here in just a moment. And also, too, did you hear that the Mexican president said nope to allowing or to receiving U.S. help, U.S. troop help on the border in dealing with the cartels? Anyway, we've got some of that in here, too. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off with our headline sponsor. And let's see if I can get it. There it is, theflagshirt.com. I'm wearing one of their fantastic shirts right now. I'm wearing the American flag colored themed men's cotton polo. That's right. I love these cotton polos. They fit well. They have brilliant colors and brilliant designs. Just fantastic stuff. I don't golf, but I would imagine that I would probably wear it during golfing. Anyway, head on over to theflagshirt.com and take a look at all of their styles, whether it is men's, women's, kids, accessories, all kinds of things like that. They're focusing right now on supporting American workers. They have a Made in the USA section, a section of men's, women's, kids, and accessories that are all made in the USA. Now, what's really cool about theflagshirt.com is also that it is a veteran-owned, veteran-operated company. And if you order $75 or more of their product, you will get free shipping from them. But I know not everybody wants to order $75 worth or more of product. Sometimes what they want to do is they just want to order one shirt. And I get that. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine, because I'm going to help you out. I will help you out by giving you a coupon code. All you have to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order. Once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and you'll be presented with a coupon code that you can then copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. I just realized I made a boo-boo. I do boo-boos all the time on this show. That's what happens with live broadcasting. All right, let's get... the boo-boo, of course, was I was supposed to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I jumped right past that into the first ad, but that's okay. We'll pick up the Pledge of Allegiance right now with the one and only, the famous, well, at least in his own mind, G. G is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one, like me, and place your hand over your heart and follow along with G as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, legend in your own mind, G. I'm just teasing. For that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file that you recorded it to, and send it off to me. Attach it to an email and send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will, of course, get you into the rotation order. I'd love to get a couple new ones, if you guys would. Anyway, all right. So, here we go. Oh, the White House celebrates the Star Wars May the 4th Be With You Day by trolling radical left lunatics. It's only the White House and, of course, Trump. Well, assuming that Trump's the one that's doing all of this. But anyway, the only way that Trump can do it. So, here in Breitbart, here's some photos. So they put up a couple of photos of, like, the Emperor, and there's Trump standing there with, of course, Trump being, massively muscled. He looks like, Conan the Barbarian kind of arms, with a lightsaber. Photo. Oh, just take a look at this thing. There it is. There's the Trump lightsaber. There he is, folks. Trump with the red lightsaber. He's got muscles upon muscles upon muscles on this thing. Very, very well-defined muscles. And then, of course, the American flag and American eagle heads in the background. Just fantastic. Trump loves to troll. He really does. And here's some of the words that the White House put up. Happy May 4th to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting so hard to bring Sith lords, murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and well-known MS-13 gang members back into our galaxy. You're not the rebellion. You're the empire. May the 4th be with you. I don't know who they got, but this guy, whoever it is, whatever the team is, I mean, they're brilliant. Advertising brilliance here, let me tell you. And also, too, Trump posted a Truth Social post. Now, for those of you that don't know, Trump was actually asked who he would like to see as the next pope. And he said me. Sometimes you cannot take Trump at face value on everything. Okay. Trump is one of those types of people. I'm just telling you, Trump is one of those types of people that he loves to do a deadpan joke. He doesn't ever, some of his jokes are completely obvious, and others Others are so dry and deadpan that you're not really sure whether he's being serious or whether he's trolling. And for those of us who are aware of Trump and what he does, then yeah, we all know, okay, this is trolling. And so he posted, now this particular one, he posted a picture of him as pontiff, as the Pope, with the whole Pope hat and everything else, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program. And he's sitting there and he's basically showing that he would be a good Pope. Now, let's be honest. I highly doubt that Trump really wants to be Pope. I mean, there's a lot of things that go along with it that I'm sure Trump has no desire to be involved in. The whole vow of chastity thing is probably not going to be his choice for things. But oh my gosh, he said this, he put this out, and I tell you, I don't even think I know I didn't see the White House's photo with regards to Trump being a Jedi. All I saw was stuff like this, and the left was trying to say, hey, Catholics, are you insulted by this? Let me explain something to you. Now, first of all, I was raised Catholic. I am not a Catholic, okay, but I was raised in the Catholic Church and in the Catholic faith. And something like this, of course, is it's funny. We are not like the Muslims. We're not like the Islamic faith, where, making jokes of Muhammad is a bad idea, or even like invoking his name in a bad way is a bad idea. I mean, we can actually laugh at stuff like this because this is so far-fetched and ridiculous, people. It's just, anyway. As always, the left, of course, bit on this, and they were all trying to make this out to be even more than what it was. They were freaking out about it, and especially calling all Catholics, are you insulted on that? No, actually, I'm not insulted on that. I'll be honest with you. I personally, again, not being Catholic, but having grown up in the Catholic faith, I'm more insulted on the fact that you have people like Joe Biden, okay? Joe Biden, who is a, total liar and wants babies aborted and all these other things, that he is even being allowed to take part in the Eucharist, the communion ceremony in the Catholic Church. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi. I mean, they both are advocates for abortion, and the Catholic Church is 100%. Even this last pope who just died, who was probably one of the more far left popes that the Catholic Church has had, and nobody is even saying that, hey, you people shouldn't be taking communion because of your stances and beliefs on a whole host of things that are against the Catholic Church and against the Bible. So, yeah, it's sitting here and trying to get all upset over something like this. Yeah, no, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. You can laugh at stuff like this. I mean, it's hilarious. It actually is hilarious. So anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much, those were the two memes that were running around, 2 or 3 memes that were running around. And of course, the leftists, they all freaked out about it. They all freaked out about it. Anyway, toward that end with the Pope thing, just going to let you know, there now are some people out there who seem to be, let's just say, a little concerned that we may end up with an Asian Pope. Let me say that one more time. I think there are people out there who are a little freaked out about the idea of an Asian Pope. I don't care. I mean, obviously I don't care because I'm not part of the Catholic Church, but I don't care. If they do the job and they do it right, They follow the Bible, they follow God's teachings, they follow, church doctrine and set it up properly, then who cares what their nationality is? I really don't. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, all right. And of course, that was yesterday. Today is a new day. Today is, of course, Cinco de Mayo. If you celebrate Cinco de Mayo, if you're running around in a sombrero and a serape and you're a white guy and you want to start speaking Spanish, or at least attempting to speak Spanish, okay, whatever. But, hi, Ted. Anyway, the left apparently is freaked out about that because, oh my gosh, if you're white and you eat a burrito on Cinco de Mayo, or you ask for a cerveza rather than a beer on Cinco de Mayo, or you drink margaritas on Cinco de Mayo. Come on, folks, please. Seriously, we're Americans. We make up holidays where there are no holidays. Hello, May the 4th. It's ridiculous to sit here and try to say, oh no, you're appropriating a culture that you shouldn't. You shouldn't be appropriating that culture. Yeah, guess what? Somebody I know appropriated a culture, and that got her ahead all the way to the Congress. Yes, I'm speaking about you, Elizabeth Warren, you 1 of 1024th Native American. Anyway, it's too bad that Cinco de Mayo fell on a Monday rather than a Tuesday, because, my mom goes out to Taco Tuesday every frickin' Tuesday, so that would have just been a double whammy. Oh, Taco Tuesday on Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. I'm sure it's happened in the past, but still. Anyway. Oh, the things that these leftists get all upset about. Well, I think the left is also going to be upset about this. Only just because of the fact that they keep wanting to say, that Trump's this really nasty, bad billionaire. He's trying to get tax cuts for the billionaires and, trying to screw the American people and the American working man and working woman and working whatever kind of gender we want to decide who we are. Do you realize how stupid that sounds? But anyway. All right, I digress. Here we go. Trump once again, because he did it in his first term. And by the way, he did it in his first term, the entire first term, and not a single mainstream media outlet praised him for doing this. Trump has now pledged once again to donate his entire salary back to government. Okay? Now, again, like I said, he did this in his first term, so it's no surprise that he's doing this again. But once again, the mainstream media and the Democrats and everybody else, they're not sitting there looking and going, oh my gosh, he did such a wonderful thing for this. All right. Of course not. They're not going to tell him that. Why? Because of the fact that, of course, that would be giving Trump credit for something that he did well. All right. So he said this, he mentioned it on May 4th. And here's kind of the thing that he's doing, okay? And this comes from the Epoch Times. For those of you that are interested, you can go and read the whole piece, but I'm just going to pick a couple of things out here. So last term, meaning his first term, okay, he donated a salary to various federal departments, including places like the National Park Service, the Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, in specific for that one, efforts related to the opioid crisis. He also gave it to the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Surgeon General's COVID-19 response, and also passed it off to the Small Business Administration. Now, he also, I guess, mentioned about the lack of coverage, media coverage on the issue. He goes, I never got a story saying I gave it. Nobody cared if I gave it. I didn't guarantee, or I guarantee if I didn't give it, there'd be a big story, Trump said. So here's the deal. The U.S. Constitution requires that the president receive some sort of compensation for his services. All right. and those shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected. Okay, that's the wording in the Constitution. So it means basically that it's unconstitutional for the president to decline or outright decline the salary that was set by Congress. All right. Now, currently, at current levels, the president is supposed to receive a salary of $400,000 per year in addition to expense reimbursement. He gets a travel account. He gets an entertainment budget. All of that is totaling an additional $169,000. So $450,000 of that amount. So that comes out to, for those that do quick math, $569,000 with everything all in. All right. But $450,000 of that amount must be paid to the president by law. Now, what it doesn't say is what the president can do with it after or during when he's getting paid. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Washington, yes, I'm talking about George Washington, our first president and commander-in-chief, Washington initially declined taking a salary. Now, he also declined taking a salary while he served as commander in the Continental Army, okay, during the American Revolution. However, he initially declined it. He was persuaded ultimately to accept a $25,000 a year salary, which when you run for inflation and in dollar, amounts and so on and so forth, would be the equivalent of about a $900,000 salary today. Now, Washington reportedly did cover all of his expenses himself. Now, there's only two other presidents, according to the piece here, that have declined to take their presidential pay. The first one, outside of Washington, was Herbert Hoover. He became the first president in 1929 to donate his entire salary to charitable causes because he was already a multimillionaire when he took office. JFK, whose family was also ultra wealthy, similarly donated his salary to charity. However, JFK retained the use of the $50,000 expense account. So, anyway, you would think that these kinds of facts would be interesting to the mainstream media, and at least they would put together a story of some kind on this. But no, they're not going to, because that would show that Trump is actually a human being, and one who, rightfully so, is basically saying, I've got all the money I need. I don't need anything else. Here, take the money that I'm using, or that would normally go to me, constitutionally speaking, and use it for other good things. So, anyway. Once again, leave it to the leftists. All right. Well, there is an interesting development that has presented itself. In kind of an interesting way. So for those of you that don't know, because I even had to ask this question because I wasn't sure whether Alcatraz was a state prison or if it was a federal prison. Turns out Alcatraz is currently a national park. However, Donald Trump has decided to order the reopening of Alcatraz to imprison serial offenders. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Alcatraz, because I don't know, maybe you're young and don't know anything about it, but you really should check it out. Alcatraz is a prison that is in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Okay. And being in the middle of San Francisco Bay makes it, well, let's just say difficult to essentially escape from. Now, some people would think, oh, yeah, the bay, well, it's not that far. You can see it from the shore. You definitely can see it from the shore. The problem is, though, that the San Francisco Bay connects to the Pacific Ocean, and there are sharks in the bay. There is only one known escape from the many years that Alcatraz Island operated as a prison. And even then, it's not 100% sure if the individual actually got away. They know he got off the island, but there's no known 100% for sure evidence that he was able to live his life. They have no idea where he went. He just simply disappeared off the island. Now, more recently, you had the movie called The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, among a few others, that demonstrated a little bit about The Rock, and it had, pictures and video and stuff like that on The Rock, meaning in Alcatraz. But otherwise, it's one of the prisons, one of the few that has a limited number, less than, what you can count on one hand, in terms of escapees. So Donald Trump yesterday said that he will reopen and rebuild the historic Alcatraz prison off the San Francisco coast to jail the nation's most ruthless and violent offenders, repeat offenders. So in the Truth Social post, now again, folks, you got to remember, you've got to get on Truth Social. You want to hear from the president directly? That's where it is. Okay. Oh, I'm also being told by 3 Chevy that the currents in the bay are intense and the water is extremely cold. Well, I understand the water being extremely cold because that's the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean is very cold. But anyway, in a Truth Social post Sunday evening, Trump revealed he's ordered the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen this former federal prison. He said, far too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. Trump wrote, when we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. Now, this is an extension of the position taken by the Trump administration with regards to the prisons. For an example, like what they've done by sending illegal immigrants down to what's known as CECOT, which is the Center for Terrorism. I'll just put it that way because it's the CECOT, C-E-C-O-T, is actually a Spanish translation, and I can't speak Spanish to save my life. So anyway, also too, keep in mind that they opened up Guantanamo, or have been talking about opening up Guantanamo for the same thing. So this is just an extension of that. So, anyway, Trump finished off, the reopening of Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice. Now, Alcatraz originally served as a federal prison from 1934 to 1963, but was ultimately shut down due to high operational costs and infrastructure challenges. So, according to the Bureau of Prisons, and this is in the Epoch Times piece, $3 to $5 million is going to be needed to restore and maintain the prison to keep it open. Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're on a freaking island. you gotta either boat or helicopter because there's not enough room for planes to land. So anyway, we'll have to see what's going to go on. Oh yeah. So here it even writes in the piece. Not that I didn't believe you, 3 Chevy, but this confirms it as well. It says the former military prison was known to be impossible to escape due to the strong currents and cold waters of the Pacific Ocean. Throughout its history, 36 men tried to escape 14 separate times, according to the FBI, but most were eventually captured or didn't survive the attempted escapes. And the 1979 movie called Escape from Alcatraz featured a story about 3 inmates who tried to escape, who tried to escape the notorious island facility. Alcatraz has infamously jailed well-known criminals such as gangster Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, Alvin Karpis, and Arthur Barker, according to the Bureau of Prisons website. So, by the way, too, Nancy Pelosi publicly dismissed Trump's directive. Yeah, she said that Alcatraz closed as a federal penitentiary more than 60 years ago. It is now a very popular national park and major tourist attraction. The president's proposal is not a serious one, she said. I've heard that Gavin Newsom has also kind of poo-pooed it as well. Yeah. Anyway, NTD tried to contact Newsom for a comment, but yeah, they didn't receive an immediate response. Anyway, we'll have to see what's happening here. I know that as far as it being popular, I can tell you it is. It absolutely is as being a national landmark or whatever, because of the fact that when my wife and family and I went down to San Francisco, tried to get on the tour, it was booked out for a solid month. And you got to remember, or you got to realize that we went down there during what was essentially roughly wintertime. So, yeah, it was very, would have been awfully cold going out on the boat, but yeah. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if it actually comes true. But again, it could be completely all part of Trump's trolling strategies, or not any strategy really. But anyway, so yeah, it's kind of fun. All right. Ooh. Well, we've got some legal matters, judges that are starting to wake the hell up and realize what's going on, and are kind of like saying, yeah, this is a little outside of what is really constitutional. What am I talking about here? Well, President Trump just received a legal victory. This in PJ Media. So, obviously you all know about all of the lawfare that has continued, but this time has changed direction. Rather than being directed at Trump directly, it's been going after all of these things that, the Trump administration is doing. For an example, going after Doge and going after his birthright citizenship executive order, and the executive order taking illegals out, and his use of the Alien Enemies Act for doing that exact same thing. Well, that idea and that strategy finally has hit, at least in the lower courts, a major roadblock. Now, the Supreme Court has questioned and has, given the Trump administration a couple victories, and as a part of those opinions, has basically made the suggestion that these federal district courts are stepping outside of their boundaries, which they are. I kind of hate it that SCOTUS is taking a light-footed approach on this. They should just immediately say, yeah, you don't have the authority to do this. But all of that being said, a landmark ruling on Saturday, the D.C. Court of Appeals has handed the Trump administration a decisive legal victory. The legal victory basically is that the appeals court, in a 2-1 ruling, emphasized the judiciary's deference to executive authority in matters concerning federal employment and contractual decisions. The court noted that the district court, now this one is in particular with regards to the USAGM operations, where Trump went and released or fired or whatever all of the employees, and tried to get get rid of, basically get rid of a big section of the U.S. Agency for Global Media and Voice of America, by the way. But they basically stated that the appeals court stated that the district court likely lacked jurisdiction to interfere with the administration's personnel actions and funding decisions, particularly regarding grant agreements with non-federal entities like Radio Free Asia and Middle East Broadcasting Networks. This ruling is specific to Trump's March 14th executive order, which aimed to dismantle the U.S. AGM operations. They're starting to get it, folks. At least some of these district court or court of appeals judges are starting to realize that, you know what, now that we're starting to take a closer look at this stuff, it's chances are it's unconstitutional for these federal district courts to try and put out blanket orders to order the president of the United States, the constitutionally mandated president of the United States with broad executive powers when it comes to doing these things. Yeah, it might not be a good idea for us to allow a small judicial lower court that was created by Congress, another constitutional body that doesn't really have control over the executive branch either. So how can a lower court that was created by a body that is on par with the executive branch in terms of the three branches of government, but can't necessarily control it unless the president completely steps out of line. But so anyway, they're starting to wake up and realize that, maybe this is an overreach of the judicial branch. We'll just have to see what's going to happen here. But the ruling effectively reins in the district courts that have been sidestepping proper jurisdictional channels in cases challenging Trump's administrative actions. This decision serves as a clear reminder that courts themselves must operate within their prescribed legal boundaries. Now, what they're talking about, of course, is a federal district court only has authority within that district. Hence the reason why they have a district. And as I pointed out to you on another episode, that one federal district court can't order another federal district court to do anything. They can't order people who are not associated with the case at hand to do anything. So, we might be starting to see some changes in terms of all this. Now, Margot Cleveland, the senior legal correspondent for The Federalist, notes that the D.C. Court's ruling hinges on a critical point, which is jurisdiction. Now, keep in mind, the Supreme Court also mentioned jurisdiction. So this might, even if it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, or any of these cases actually go up to the Supreme Court, which, by the way, Trump has appealed a couple of these to the Supreme Court. I honestly think that I'm hoping too, that the Supreme Court will wake up and realize that, we need to rein in these lower courts because they're taking liberties that they do not have the authority for. So, anyway. Also, too, just keep in mind that the appeals court found that the lower court had also overstepped its bounds by trying to restore federal grants, something that Congress assigned to the Court of Federal Claims, not the district courts. So once again, this is a different court matter than where the case is quote unquote being tried. So it's all about jurisdiction here, folks. It's all about jurisdiction. And so, this is going to be quite interesting. Yeah. So, anyway, That was a legal win for Trump. All right. So while we're not even not very far past the first 100 days, and Trump was trolling when he told people, yeah, I might run for a third term. Yeah, I might do it. I think it's possible. Once again, yeah, he can't. He knows he can't. He knows he can't. Constitutionally, he can't. Well, he finally has, let that joke go. And he was asked during an interview on Meet the Press, NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday. He was asked who he would want to take the next round. Now, the thing is that, again, keep in mind that President said, quote, I want a great Republican to carry it forward. But he was pressed on who he would pick. And he also mentioned, just like I'm about to mention, it's way too early to be thinking about that. We've got, 3+ years still with Trump in office. So it's getting a little bit of the cart before the horse kind of scenario. However, Trump did happen to drop 2 individuals' names. One, pretty obvious, VP J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance would be an excellent successor to Donald Trump, unless, of course, something happens in the time frame or in the in what's going on in terms of the time frame between now and, of course, 2028 when things come up. But he also dropped Marco Rubio, the current Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, among other things. So that's kind of interesting. So here, let's go ahead and listen to the man himself.
I know that you are only 100 days in, but as we sit here today, who do you see as your successor, Mr. President?
Well, it's far too early to say that, but I do have a vice president, and typically it would be, and JD's doing a fantastic job.
He would be at the top of the list?
It could very well be. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them that are great. I also see tremendous unity. But certainly you would say that somebody's the VP. If that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage. But I think the other people would all stay in unbelievably high positions. But, it could be that he'd be challenged by somebody. We have a lot of good people in this party.
So he's saying, well, yeah, J.D. Vance is a good possibility, Marco Rubio, but we also have some other possibilities as well. Now, 3 Chevy points out, a surprise there's no talk of Don Jr. or Eric Trump. To be honest with you, I don't think that's necessarily a good strategy. I mean, we had, let's just be real about this. We had the Kennedy, and we're still dealing with some of the Kennedys. And so I don't know if that would necessarily, you've got to remember, Don Jr. and Eric may not want to be part of politics. They may see what their father is going through and saying, you know what, I am not going to deal with that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily see it, although that could be a dark horse kind of scenario out of the backfield. Somebody not paying attention might come forward and be like that. But typically, the typical successor, whenever you have a successful president, is, of course, their vice president would be obviously the front runner. And let's just throw this out there right now. The way that JD handled Tim Walz on the debate stage, I think is an indication that he is prepared for the arena. To be able to, I won't say clear the field, but certainly lead the pack in terms of all this. And as long as he can keep a support structure properly, I think he has a good chance. Don't forget, we also have a couple people who might be eyeing for the president, eyeing the presidency that would be outside of it. So, yeah, I just, I don't know. Again, it's way too early to be discussing all of this. There's just so much that can happen between now and, of course, the time that it really comes into play in 2027, that we need to focus on what Trump is going on. But, of course, everybody's asking, who's your next pick? Because, I mean, again, to be honest and forthright, Trump cannot run for a third term, regardless of how many times he wants to discuss it. All right. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to move on to the next one, to our next subject matter, because, of course, this is part of the title of the show. So I got to put it in there. All right. So the Pentagon, according to this piece in Common Defense, the Pentagon has now established a second military enforcement zone along the U.S.-Mexico border. In further escalation of federal efforts to curb illegal immigration along the southern border, the piece writes, the U.S. Department of Defense announced the designation of a second national defense area along the U.S.-Mexico border. This new enforcement zone, established in Texas, is an extension of the Fort Bliss Army Base in El Paso and follows the creation of the first such zone that was done in New Mexico, just last month. According to a Pentagon statement released Thursday, the second military zone empowers active duty personnel to detain individuals who illegally cross into the U.S. until they can be turned over to the Department of Homeland Security. So this action, or these actions, mark an unprecedented expansion of military involvement in immigration enforcement operations, a role historically reserved for civilian agencies. General Gregory Guyot, I'm going to use the French term because it's a French spelling, but anyway, or French pronunciation, I should say, said the establishment of a second national defense area increases our operational reach and effectiveness in denying illegal activity along the southern border. So there you go. Well, so we're increasing our military presence, and one of the things that did happen, by the way, is that Trump offered to deploy U.S. troops to Mexico to help handle the cartels. And, well, Mexican president says that, yeah, she's rejected the offer. She says, we will never accept the presence of the United States Army in our territory. That was her quote. So he, Trump basically said, hey, if you need some assistance to help combat the drug cartels, we'll go ahead and give you some. So the Wall Street Journal, of course, first reported this on May 2nd, based on anonymous sources, that Trump had offered to send U.S. troops to take the leading role in efforts within Mexico to counter the cartels. Now, for those of you that don't know, the cartels, yeah, they pretty much run Mexico. I mean, for the most part. Now, Sheinbaum can sit there and say she's not a person of the cartels, but that's kind of how things work down there. Is the cartels, especially in certain areas, they essentially are the government in certain spaces, and especially along the New Mexico northern border. All right. So anyway, she basically said, no, President Trump, the territory is inviolable. Sovereignty is inviolable. So the Mexican president said she remains willing to work with the United States on some measures to counter cartel activity, but draws the line at U.S. boots on the ground in her country. She says, we can share information, but we will never accept the presence of the United States Army in our territory. Okay. Well, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But Trump, in response, said that Mexico's president is afraid to let American troops come and fight the cartels. So he said on Sunday that Mexican President Sheinbaum is so afraid of the drug cartels that she can't even think straight. And that's why she rejected his proposal to send American troops into Mexico to fight them. I don't think he's that far off, to be honest with you. I don't think he is. So the reporters, of course, asked him about it, and he asked him about her turning him down. And he said, it's true. The cartels are horrible people that have been killing people left and right. They've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They are bad news. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I'd be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They are evil. And we had, again, he reiterated 300,000 people died from fentanyl and all that. We had millions of people brought into this country that shouldn't be here. The cartels brought them in. He did say that he thought Sheinbaum was nice, but that she refused the American help. And in his mind, that was because she was scared of the cartels. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, again, the cartels are like so ingrained in certain areas that they are literally part of the government, that they own there are reports of them owning the federales that are down there. So, having an outside entity whom you could not only blame things on, but you could also, utilize in ways that you can't use your own troops. And again, they are a third party. They're not part of the cartel's network of people. I mean, I would think of it as sort of a win, although I kind of get the idea because, again, would we really want somebody to operate like a foreign nation to operate on our soil to take care of her problems? So I can kind of see where she's coming from with that. It might open up some international things. So anyway. All right. Well, let's see. We got one more article that I kind of skipped over. Speaking of the illegal aliens that have been here, the Department of Homeland Security has unveiled the fact that they now are allowing through the CBP One app, or, well, I don't know if it's the CBP One app anymore. I think it's called the CBH app, meaning Customs and Border Home. Anyway, the Trump admin has announced that they are set to pay illegal immigrants, $1,000 to self-deport. And according to the DHS, doing it that way is cheaper and will save taxpayers a ton. So the Trump administration has started to pay illegal aliens $1,000 to self-deport from the U.S. Now, the Department of Homeland Security said that that's going to save taxpayers up to $1 million per family. That's right, according to the New York Post and the Department of Homeland Security. So the immigrants can avoid arrest by federal immigration agents if they choose to use the administration's CBP Home app. The DHS will pay for their commercial flights out of the U.S. and then send the cash, the $1,000, once they confirm that they've left. Now, despite shelling out the cash, according to the article here, DHS projects that taxpayers will save 70% over the cost of rounding up and deporting each illegal alien. I actually, thinking about it in my head here, live on camera, I actually could see that. Because if you think about how much money and energy and effort it takes to try and track these people down, not to mention the fact that once you track these people down, you also have to have the crew, however many, come and arrest them. And when you, see, 3 Chevy is thinking just like me. He just basically said, when you figure the costs of agents rounding them up, it actually makes sense. I mean, okay. Hey, if you're willing to like pack up all your stuff and jump on a plane that I've paid a ticket for you, and I'll give you $1,000 when you reach your final destination or whatever. Yeah, maybe that is less. It very well could be. So apparently it costs the taxpayers an average of $17,121. Now keep in mind, that's an average for the feds to arrest, detain, and deport a single illegal immigrant, according to DHS. Oh, I also just thought you also have all of the requirements of having them. If you arrest them, then they have to have a hearing because, God forbid, they don't get quote unquote due process in their deportation thing, because then you're going to end up with the whole situation like we have with all of the Venezuelans that are sitting around doing nothing. Oh, and Nana of JJS pointed out too, that would also help save money on all the assistance programs that they get. That's a good point. See, I have the smartest listening audience in the content creator ethosphere. Anyway. So yeah, Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said that self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way for illegal aliens, she said immigrants, but illegal aliens to avoid arrest by ICE. Now, don't forget, there's also that other part that Tom Homan talked about, which Tom Homan said that, hey, if you self-deport, you actually still have the opportunity, because you self-deported, to actually come back here the legal way and like apply for, citizenship or however that whole process works. And so there seems to be some benefits here, because if they self-deport, they not only get $1,000, they get a free plane ticket home, and they also have the opportunity. They have the opportunity to basically come back if they want legally, if they self-deport. Hey, that the more that I talk about it, the more that I think about it, this probably could be a win-win here. This could be a win-win for not only the illegal aliens that are here, but also for, believe it or not, even America. Because then that person who is sucking down on all of our special programs and everything else that the Democrats put in, that many of them are unconstitutional, well, they now come back and have the opportunity to actually become a part of the melting pot that is America. And they may not have to do those criminalistic behaviors. So, you know what? Hey, message to all of you illegal aliens within the sound of my voice. Download the CBP Home app today and please self-deport. Anyway. Oh. All right. I think that's about it for me. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. And of course, once you sign up and sign in, which by the way, it's free to sign up. Once you sign up and sign in, make sure you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up. I'd prefer thumbs down if you really want, across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.